Hello, hello, and welcome to the special panel discussion for Outfest, the Outfronts, presented by IMDb. IMDb.com is a proud collaborator with Outfest year-round. As the world's most popular source for movie, TV, and celebrity content, IMDb helps fans discover a new generation of LGBTQ+ stories and storytellers, and is thrilled to be sponsoring today's panel. My name's Cameron Scheetz, and I'm honored to be joined by some amazing guests for a conversation that will take a look back at queer representation on television from our not too distant past, as a way to examine where we are today and how far the industry has come. So our wonderful panel today includes actors who played some of the earliest notable examples of regular and recurring queer characters in scripted television. So please join me in welcoming our special guests. First up, we have Wilson Cruz, who played queer teen Ricky Vasquez on the mid-90s one-season wonder, My So-Called Life. And we've got Jane Sibbett, who played Carol, the ex-wife of Ross Geller on a little sitcom I think you may have heard of, Friends. Hello. And last but not least, we have Amber Benson, who slayed our hearts as Tara on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Aw, thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk with all of you. I think we've come so far, but it's like, well, this is not that long ago that we're talking about. We're talking about the mid to late 90s that a lot of you made your debuts on the show. So let's start by going back to the beginning. Actually, first, I want to have you each introduce your characters a little bit more, kind of as you see them. So I want to have you each share maybe a trait or something that you like most about them, or something along those lines, an episode of theirs that really, really means a lot to you. And I'm going to throw this to you first, Wilson.
I played the inimitable Ricky Vasquez on My So-Called Life, who was, Angela and Rayanne's best friend, played by Claire Danes and AJ Langer, and who was secretly in love with, along with everybody else in the whole world, Jordan Catalano, played by Jared Leto. My favorite thing about him, was that it was the mid '90s, and all there was really misunderstanding and stereotypes about LGBTQ people, especially gay men, and we were called all things, but Satan himself, and sometimes even that. And here was Ricky Vasquez, who was the moral compass of the show. He was everyone's best friend. He was the person everybody came to for moral guidance, and when it came to talk, we had one major conversation Angela and I had about her thinking about having sex. And, most people thought that, gay people were just, all we were doing was fucking everywhere. And here was this 15-year-old kid who, in his conversation with her was saying, it should be something special. If it's not something special, if it's supposed to be like a comet, he says. And if you don't know that, if you don't understand that, and you don't feel that, it's not going to be special. So that always moved me. I also loved his moment on the dance floor where he just said, "Fuck all of you! I need to work this out here on this dance floor with my then chubby little friend Senta Moses, who had her own dramas, and she and I just threw it all off and lived our lives on the dance floor. Something I have done for 48 years.
I was going to ask, are these moves you still bust out from time to time?
Sometimes when you're on the dance floor and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do here to this song. I just,
That's it, yeah. Well, that was wonderfully put. Thank you, Wilson. Now, Jane, I want to have you talk a little bit about Carol. What do you love most about Carol?
Oh gosh, I don't know what there is not to love about Carol. I've been so blessed by the exquisite writing, because one of the beautiful things about the writers of Friends is that they really were writing just for love, and we played it for love. Since I replaced Anita Barone after one episode, I came in there and I said, okay, so what is it that you didn't want before? And what is it that I can bring? And they said, well, what is your idea? And I said, I just want to play for love. That's all. Can I just play for love? And they said, let's do this. And so that's how everything was through that prism. And so it was love for her former husband or soon to be former husband, love for her lover, and then eventually love for the child. And so it just made it really special and sweet that there was nothing that you could push up against in my world, but love. And so I really, really appreciated that. I don't think I was ever particularly funny on that show. I was the straight man, as the gay woman. But I think that was important, that we were not making, ever any fun of anything that was about this loving character. It was all about the people that were having a hard time. And I think we really helped a lot of people push through their own curiosity or their own feelings about how they felt about loving someone in any dimension. And I'm just so grateful. It's been the best thing ever. It was such a great gift for me always. It still is.
Amen. Yeah, there is a warmth there for sure. It's very evident. So I love to hear that it was love forward, as you put it.
Yeah, yeah.
So now we'll move to Amber. And what can you tell us? I mean, of the many, many things to love about Tara, what did you love most?
What did I love most? I think it was just getting to do something that, you guys know as actors, you're constantly reading stuff that you're like, oh, this is fine. It's kind of fluffy, but it doesn't really have any meaning. There's no point to it. It's just silly or fun or scary. And then you get something like that relationship on Buffy and you're like, oh, this is important. This is actually a necessary, important thing. And I'm not just like regurgitating somebody's lines for pay. I'm actually like part of something that's important and necessary. And I think for me, that was the most like important part of being a part of that show. Because we were sort of the first like extended long-term relationship. There were all these little like beginnings of stuff, and then I think we kind of kicked open the door a little bit more into like, no, these characters are part of the crew. They're not secondary characters that come in. They're in that My So-Called Life world where everybody was a part of the ensemble. Buffy was like that as well. There was room for everybody. And I think we kind of took the torch from My So-Called Life and continued that forward. And I feel like that's really important. I've said this a zillion times, but when we kind of got pushed back with our like intimacy stuff, like we wanted to kiss on the show. We thought that was a part of their relationship. We're a couple, we live together. Why can't we kiss when Buffy and Spike are like boning on a, sarcophagus? I don't understand. And we just, we got all this pushback for it. And Allison and I both were like, this is really not fair. And one of the guys in the art department who was queer took us aside and he's like, look, I get it. Like, it seems unfair. He's like, but what you guys are doing is more important. You are in somebody's room in their house every week, showing them that like two women together is totally normal and good and wonderful. And that is the game changer. It's not whether you guys are making out. That's superfluous. Yes, it's part of the whole of queer identity, but the step you've already, that first step is the most important step, is making people go, oh, I don't know any queer people, but I really like Tara and Willow. They're so cute. Or I really like Ricky Vasquez, or I really like Carol, or these are people that I would hang out with. And I think once somebody like realizes that we're all just people, we're all the same. We all poop, for God's sake, like, come on, we're all terrified of COVID together as a group.
Yes.
So yeah, for me, that was what was important about playing that character and knowing that like there are kids in the middle of this country who have nobody else, and they see these characters that we've all played, and they're like, I'm not alone, and I'm not weird. There's nothing wrong with me. I am just a person who, if I find somebody, I'm lucky, across the board. If you find somebody who is your person, it doesn't matter the gender, identity, race, religion, creed, whatever. It's, that's what's important, is finding your person and your tribe. And I think
your lobster.
Damn it. Exactly.
Yes. I mean,
anyways, I'll get off my soapbox now, but
no,
yeah.
That was wonderful. And I definitely agree. As you were saying that, I'm I'm reminded that, for such a long period of time, when we would see queer characters, they were often, I think it's thought of as like they were often in these very special episodes, or it was often like there'd be a big kiss and it would be a ratings ploy. But what I think your characters, and of course many others do represent, are these first times where we're seeing these characters woven into the fabric of the show, which is beautiful to see. I want to then go back to the beginning a little bit for each of you and how you came to these roles. Maybe there was auditions, maybe there weren't. I kind of love to hear that story. I think we'll start this with you, Wilson, especially because, this was your first role. And of course, I think it's cited often as like, you were the first openly gay actor to play an openly gay character on network television. I'm wondering,
as a series regular.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Yes, important distinction. But was that something that you were aware of at the time when you were stepping into this part?
No, I wasn't aware of it at all. I knew that there was a void in my growing up and seeing myself reflected back at me, at me. And it's so funny that we're talking about this, because I just spoke to Winnie Holzman 2 days ago, and she was reminding me that when they were casting the role, they were having a really hard time, because they were looking for a unicorn, and she had a specific vision of who this person was, and she was like, you might have to go to like college dance programs and go to dance competitions, or where those gay boys hang out. But she was like, she said to Mary Goldberg, God rest her soul, that she should she should cast a wide net, and that lo and behold, I walked in the door, and she has said this for 30 years almost. She gasped because I walked in the door, and the person that she had pictured in her head when she was writing it walked in.
Beautiful.
And she was like, I just want him to be able to speak English, So, and she was like, and you turned out to be an actor, like, oh my God. So it was a long process. I won't say, that they cut me. It's like, I went from like casting assistant to Mary Goldberg. The memory that will never lose, never leave my mind is, I just was going on an audition, but they had sent me this script, and I thought, oh my God, someone followed me around high school. And so I wanted it right away, right? Like it meant everything to me. And so I remember getting dressed in character, because I didn't dress like Ricky Vasquez, believe it or not, but I had a pair of really bright red Levi jeans, a pair of black Doc Martens, and this rainbow shirt. There was like, vertical lines of different colors. It was like a long sleeve, and I rolled it up, and a black belt. And I walked in that way, and I read the scene. Oh, and I walked into the waiting room, and everybody in the waiting room who was going in for Ricky Vasquez was in khakis and a polo.
What?
And I had my hair like hair sprayed up like this. I had eyeliner on. They must have thought, I don't know what they thought.
Perfect. They thought perfect.
Right. No, I mean the people in the waiting room. I don't know what they thought, but I thought, you guys haven't a chance in the world. So I went in, I read the 2 scenes with Mary Goldberg. And she, she said, thank you so much for coming in. As we do, we get up to walk out the door, and something inside of me said, this may be the last chance you have to say something. And I turned around, and I just wanted to say, I don't know if I'm ever going to see you again, but would you please tell whoever wrote this that I'm really grateful and thank you. And she said, I'm not going to tell them anything, because you're going to have to come back here tomorrow and meet them yourself.
Oh,
so
nice.
They never tell you in the room,
Right.
that you're coming back or anything. They have to call your agents, whatever. And I floated out of that room. And then I walked in, then the next meeting was with Winnie at the Bedford Falls offices. And I wore, sorry, I'm taking a long time, but I wore these, remember cross colors? So I had these wide-legged, cross-colored, black and white striped jeans.
Oh my God.
And a black cross colors, like pull over a hoodie. And again with my hair up and the eyeliner on. And I walked in, and Winnie was the first person I saw. I was like, who's that white lady? And all I remember, I just remember her going, I remember her going, and I thought, I don't know if that's a good or what, but apparently it was a good one. So, and then, I went, then I had to come back and meet with Ed and Marshall, and then there was the network test, and there was a young man there, his name just slipped my brain. It was between he and I. He ended up being on a show later on called Resurrection Boulevard. Really talented guy, but a Mexican, and he had straight hair, and he didn't look mixed, right? They wanted someone who kind of straddled all kinds of worlds, right? Who didn't quite fit in anywhere, and he was clearly Latino, so it was another choice. But I remember talking to him about it and kind of calming him down, and we ended up being friends, acquaintances through the years. But it was a life-altering experience. I mean, it literally changed my life.
I think, reflecting on it now, mid-90s, a different time, the only thing I can think is that you had to have been fearless. I mean, you had to have just had no fear whatsoever. I mean, was that even in, was that even in your mind at the time? Was there a fear to step into this part?
The only fear was, which, was a real fear, was that I hadn't told my parents yet.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't out to my parents. Wow. So I just made a deal with myself that, I was gonna have to come out to them eventually. I was still living at home. I was in college, but I was still living at home because I was going to Cal State San Bernardino, which was down the street. And it was in the dance program, by the way, so they could have found me there as well. So the fear was, okay, this is going to be the catalyst, if I get it, to tell my parents. And when I got it. I feel like I'm in the comeback. Well, I got it. I made the pilot while still living at home. They knew it was a gay character, right? I was excited. I was telling them they wanted to know who it was, and my parents were like, oh. But we didn't have the conversation, and then there's a whole waiting period about to see if the show gets picked up, which we did not. The first go around, they put us on hold for a whole year before the show was picked up the following season. By the way, in the same season as Friends, in the same time slot. It was Friends and Mad About You on NBC and My So-Called Life on ABC. So if you're mad that we got canceled, go ahead and talk to this young lady over here. I'm so kidding. So anyway, we got picked up the following season, and there was some time, and that was when I was like, okay, probably going to have to tell them about this, because I knew that I was going to come out publicly. I knew that I was going to have to talk, about it. And I should probably tell them before I was on Donahue. That was a talk show, kids, before Oprah.
Yeah.
And that was. So I went through the process of telling them. I told my mom first. I've told this story a million times. People are tired of hearing it. I told my mom first. In the car, I had to make her pull the car over before she put it into the tree. And she, did the whole Ave Maria, dramatic mother crying scene that we all love in every movie of the week that we've ever seen about it. And then she very quickly came around. But she was like, you're going to have to tell your dad. And so I ended up telling my dad a couple of months later, when he asked me, they both asked, by the way, and then I just decided not to lie. And that didn't go well, as we all know. And he threw me out, and I made my way. You know, I lived on people's couches. I lived in my car. I had 3 months between Christmas, when I was thrown out of the house, and when we started production. I just had to, you know, find a way. I found a way. And then, as I've also told a million times, I hope you edit most of this out. I had the great fortune and gift as an actor to play it all out again on a soundstage, and in the most cathartic experience I've ever had as an actor, where I left it all there. I went through it. I left it all there. I offered it up as a gift to anyone else who's ever been through a terrible coming out experience. And that episode aired, I think mid-December, the following year, of when my dad threw me out. And back then, you know, you couldn't record things, kids. You had to watch it live. And I watched it live in my little apartment in Hancock Park. And the phone, which, by the way, was attached to the wall those days, as the credits are rolling, that phone rang, and it was my dad. And my dad said, "I just watched that episode, and I think it's time we should talk." And so not only was I afforded the opportunity to gift that experience to someone, but the show gifted my family back to me, because it served exactly what it was supposed to do, which was to allow people to see themselves and experience a story that they could see themselves in, see themselves reflected back, and have the opportunity to grow from it. And my father now has not one, but 2 gay sons, and a grandfather now, because my other brother has a child. And now I spend most of my time in conversation with my father, telling him to leave me alone. I'm very happy being single.
And that's what we fought for.
He's like, "Why are you dating? Is there anyone in your life?" "I am dating, Dad. He just left. I don't remember his name." I'm just kidding.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you. It's really long. I took most of our time. I apologize.
No. I do want to pivot and turn to you, Jane. Since we brought up Friends a minute ago, I think that you came into this role certainly knowing that who Carol was to some degree, because as you mentioned, you stepped in after Anita Barone had played her for an episode, so you knew a little bit about Carol. You knew that she was a lesbian.
Then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what can you tell me about stepping into this? And I'm curious too, if there was this like a kind of apprehension into embodying this woman.
I actually was asked to test for Rachel. And when I came out of there, the phone call was as I hit the steps of Warner Brothers, like, "They want you right back." And I said, "That's fabulous. I love that. Did you tell them I'm pregnant?" And they said, "Oh, no. I'm like, "You have to tell them I'm pregnant. I know what the timing is. You got to figure out at least when they're shooting it, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing the math here. It may not work out." Like, no, Jane, come on, just go in there and get it. I'm like, "No, I'm married to a producer. We can't do that." So integrity ruled. And I said, but tell them that if the timing doesn't work out, can I play the pregnant lesbian? Because I'm going to be fat. I'm going to have all the extra baby fluff, right? And so they called me back and like, "Damn it. Like, no, the timing isn't going to work out." And I said, "Dang it." But they said they would let you know. And I go, "But how's the pregnant lesbian?" They said, "It still won't work out. They're already going to be shooting about the time you're delivering the baby." And so I came home from the hospital also in Hancock Park, also had a phone connected to the wall, and picked it up thinking it was a congratulatory phone call. And it was my agent saying, Jane, friends just called. They would like you to take over the part of the pregnant lesbian. I go, wow, that's awesome. Tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? I just had a 24-hour labor. I'm kind of sore. Big baby, 10 pounds. Like, I don't think I could go to work tomorrow. Like, no, really, Jane, just consider this. This is going to be big. I'm like, I know this. I saw the script. The script is amazing. And the pilot hadn't come out. It hadn't been aired yet.
Mhm.
Right. And so they said, look, we're going to send over the pilot. Think about it, get back to us as quickly as possible. So they messengered it over, and I sat down nursing my son and watched it. And then I saw David Schwimmer do the best take ever, the slowest take I'd ever seen in comedy. I'm like, oh my God, I have to work with this man. He's so incredible. And so I talked to them and I said, I don't know how I can do this. They're like, don't worry, it's just 2 episodes. That will give you your own dressing room. You can bring your nanny. I'm like, I have a mother. I don't have a nanny. So like, bring your mom. And so I nursed, and I was fluffy and milky and everything, and you can see all of that. But I got to play this amazing character,
Mhm.
and because of the love thing that we were just talking about,
Mhm.
they decided to keep that character going. And so I'm so grateful. And I also have my dad's story is that my dad found out about this, obviously, excited that I was on a new show, tuned in once, and then immediately scheduled Bible study at his house every Thursday night at 8 o'clock for the next 5-7 years.
Ugh.
And so, his friends started sending him articles like, do you know what your daughter's doing? He's like, I know, come to Bible study. I know, come to Bible study. And so finally, right before he died, and I was the one that was taking care of him, he said, I understand. I get it. And I'm grateful. And thank you for being so brave. And I never feel brave. But the fact that I could move that conversation, first lesbian wedding on television, the fact that I was able to move that conversation from this closed-minded, fundamental Christian world to like, no, don't you understand? Love is love. I mean, I also did the talk show circuit, and I would walk around with my little book, like that I have this great book from the priest, what the Bible really says about homosexuality. Like, you don't understand. You've got it all wrong. You've all had it wrong for a long time. Stop perpetuating this. Read up, find out the things. And I would go crazy because my father made me do the research, and I'm so grateful for that. And it's changed that. Has changed my life, my family's life, everyone around. I still, you were asking what the changes were. I'm still getting letters to this day. And especially in China right now, people are like, we have your bootleg. We have the bootleg of the wedding. We have hope.
Oh, that is amazing to hear.
So anyway,
Wow.
I'm trying to keep it short because I know there's a lot of us.
We'll put a pin in a little bit of that. I definitely want to get back into, hearing from fans of the show then and now. I think that's really fascinating. But Amber, I want to talk to you about Tara. I mean, as I understand it, she wasn't initially conceived of as a queer character. She wasn't necessarily going to be from day one in this relationship with Willow. Is that correct?
I think the intent was that they wanted to do this. They were just sort of like testing it out to see. And I think the actors were the last to know. People kept coming up on set. The crew would be like, wow, you guys have such chemistry. And I'd be like, that's nice. I had no idea what they were talking about. But I know that Joss Whedon, who created the show and the characters, he had friends who were a lesbian couple, and he felt like there was nothing for them, or very, very, very little for them. I shouldn't say that. There obviously was stuff, but there wasn't a lot. And he really wanted to basically write a mash note to their relationship. And I think that was sort of the inspiration for that relationship on the show. And I think he was sort of testing the waters just to kind of see if we connected. And if we connected, then he would move forward on what his intention was. And I guess he thought it worked, because we kept moving forward, and I ended up being on there a lot longer than I had anticipated. I thought it was going to be a couple of episodes, and it ended up being like almost 3 years, which was bananas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
Sorry, it's not an exciting.
No,
It's exciting. I love
you guys
that.
are telling such heartfelt. I'm sitting here sobbing, the two of you. Oh my
It's
gosh.
so organic and so beautiful.
exactly.
I love that.
Organic is the word I would say. And
Yeah.
as it plays out on the show too, I think that we really, there's just this space for this relationship to breathe and grow just so naturally. And we really hadn't seen
We
that
did a lot of
before.
magic together, let me tell you. There was so much
Well,
magic happening.
But also
It is so funny.
that happens in life, right? Like
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
Right.
find themselves suddenly like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a person that I'm attracted to. You know what I mean? Because I do have chemistry with them, right? So it's just,
Yeah,
that's
no,
so lovely.
totally.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and I think the opposite of your story of you walking in and being the character, like feeling like this is my story. They were like, we want a tiny little sylph, like she's gonna be like a water dryad. I was like, I'm like curvy and I got big boobs and there's nothing sylph-like about me. When I went in there, they were like, we like her, but she's just not what we imagined at all. So yeah, I had like the complete antithesis of that experience.
I've had that experience too. I've had that experience more than the other.
Yeah. That's my usual experience, is that you're not right at all. You're the other option down the line, Okay.
Yes.
But talent ruled. Talent ruled. I
Yes.
mean, I think that's the beauty of what you both are saying is that
Mhm.
we're called
I
forward.
mean, it's off subject, but My So-Called Life was my first series regular role, but I did a recurring role on a series with Tobey Maguire called Great Scott the year before.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
How I got my SAG card. And they actually, I played one of 3 choir boys they were like a Greek chorus. And we only sang our lines in unit, in harmony. And they wanted 3 white boys. And I insisted, because back then they could say that. I insisted that my agent sent me out, and I showed up, and they were like, "Well, can you sing?" And I was like, "Sit down, hold on to your hat." So like I forced them to, but that's always been the way it usually goes, and also, by the way, it's also been like on roles that were supposed to be straight. Like I've played roles that were supposed to be straight roles and I made them gay. When I was on The West Wing, which was not in the 90s, that role I played, they had us like improvise an interview, and I surprised the director by letting him know that my character was gay, and I had a whole backstory built in and the whole thing.
Beautiful.
And they kept it.
That's amazing.
Sometimes you have to like just put yourself in there.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Beat them down. Just beat them down.
Yeah.
Force your way in.
We are in the world, people.
Right, exactly. That is reminding me of kind of what you had said earlier, Amber. You were talking about, I think the network, to broadly, they were kind of reticent to show too much of anything, to have them kiss, to have Tara and Willow kiss. From your perspective, I mean, it seems like at a certain point you were just like, no, why shouldn't we show this? It seemed like you were just full steam ahead with what these two were to each other and their relationship.
Well, it just seems so ridiculous on a show that was all about hormones and angsty youth and unrequited and then requited love and sex on sarcophagus and, sarcophagi or whatever.
Yes, right.
It seemed really false to not acknowledge that. It's like, oh, we're in bed together, but we're not touching. we're that seems very strange to me. I will say that I got to wear a very sexy leather coat once, and I made Allison Hannigan sweat because I accidentally stuck my tongue in her mouth because I got so into it. Totally embarrassed her and myself.
Yes.
I was like, I am really sorry, but like, we're in this, we're doing this. I love you. Like,
just to piggyback on something you said, you're lying in bed together, and it's exactly what happened on 30 something, which was also had this gay character, and there was a huge controversy with the advertisers and with
Yeah.
The
Standards and practices.
Well, the channels in other
The affiliates.
The affiliates.
Thanks, the word I was looking for. You know, in the South, that were going to boycott and everything, and they ended up shooting the scene, and just as they're about to kiss, you know, it pans away, or like I think it's a shadow or something that they show. Yeah, and this was, you know, 30-something was
way before.
Like before My So-Called Life. It was
it
was the series they did before My So-Called Life. Same producers.
We had that same issue with our lesbian wedding, the same thing with the affiliates. We were blocked out, and that's why at that point, and we didn't even get a kiss, and we wanted a kiss. We really wanted a kiss, but that was the
wedding.
best thing
Not
for
kissing?
the issue. No, we didn't get a kiss at our wedding. Yeah,
what happened? I can't remember.
They cut away to a joke. They cut away to a joke, and it was because Phoebe was embodied by an old Jewish woman who said, "Now I've seen everything." And then cut to the laugh, you know, which was okay, but not great. And but coming back around to the affiliates, it was the best thing ever that they were blocking us out, because we got the highest ratings to that date for any episode aired, and so it brought a lot of discussion to the issue that we need representation. We absolutely need representation. So, you know, good and the bad there, but man.
And you had Candace Gingrich there.
Exactly. Thank you.
I knew that. I love her. I love her.
Totally.
I'm so glad you brought
Talk
her.
about brave.
Yes, absolutely.
Brave, right?
Yeah.
She's amazing. Amazing officiating. Yeah, and in life, she officiates much.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Friends, I mean, I think I'm curious, you know, at the time, I think especially early on, it was kind of the punchline when Ross would be talking about the fact that his ex-wife is a lesbian now. But of course, by the time you join in and you're in the role, over time, we do get to understand Carol as this fully formed character, which is beautiful to see. But I think what's so fascinating is that, you know, we're talking about this airing in the late to mid 90s. All of these shows are now widely available to stream. We're seeing new audiences come to them. We're seeing a number of different perspectives. Like, you know, I think there are people that are coming to Friends for the first time, and maybe they think like, well, I can't believe that we're talking about these characters in this way. They're using them as jokes. But I think on the flip of that is that you're also seeing people that are still, to this day, very, very moved by their story. Yeah. I wondered if you've heard from, you mentioned fans from China writing you, and I think that's incredible.
Well, especially with them blocking out, they actually removed the entire storyline from the latest release of it. And so, you know, Marta Kaufman and I are still friends, and we've been talking, and she said, yeah, we're doing our best to fight this legally, because we sold a complete show. They don't have editing rights, and it's a big to-do, but you know, the people in China, okay, don't worry, Jane, we love you. We love the storyline, or don't be upset, because it makes me cry that they're doing that. And not for me, it's for the representation of what this means. It's yes. And today I'm not very good at social media. And so today I went on Instagram and just was asking, like, so what was the impact for you? And people are saying it's still impacting. We don't want to spoil it for the people that are just seeing it for the first time, because there's places all over the world. I mean, I'm still getting letters from people saying, you know, in my village in Africa, we are not allowed to marry. We are not allowed to show our love. And it's crushing. And I, as a person at that time who didn't, I mean, it's such a weird and a straight person thing to say, but I have so many friends that are gay. I didn't think about what a horrible problem it was. I didn't realize it until I began getting these letters. And you know, I've said this before in interviews that I received an award on behalf of the show. And this man came up, and it's a coalition about families, gay parents and their families.
Oh, it's the Equality Council, the Family Equality Council, I think?
Yes. And the man who presented the award to the show to me said, you know, if I had Carol and Susan as a child, I wouldn't have tried to commit suicide so many times. And what do I say after that? I can't even talk when I'm just like thank you for giving me this. I wish that I could do more. Show me how I can do more. And I'm in constant, like, there must be something else I can do. There must be, at this day, and I feel like I've moved the ball a little bit, but not nearly enough, since, especially in the climate of the world right now. So if anyone ever has any ideas of how I can help little old me, please let me know. Please help my languaging, help my reach. If I can get out there and reach, I mean, I would do anything to help this, because it's,
I mean, I don't want you to think in any way or trivialize in any way how important that was, or how important any of this work is. One of my personal heroes, Vito Russo, spoke until the end of his life about the power of visibility and the necessity of it. And he understood that it was the key to understanding and compassion, and to the ability to show our humanity, right? In the face of all of the lies, all of the bullshit, for lack of a better word in the moment, that is said about us in places that are supposed to be about love, like a church, for instance, right? The bastardization of Christianity itself is what we are battling.
Yeah,
that's what we are. That is what we are at war with, not with Christianity or with religion or with spirituality. It is the misinterpretation of that. And the fact that our work as, a lot of people say, oh, actors take themselves so seriously and, it's not so important. No, what we're doing is allowing people in, showing people our hearts, how we live our lives, so that they can have a tool to reference when these lies are told about us, which they are told all the time. And that, by the way, the very fact that they're fighting so hard to censor us, to silence us, to shame us into inaction, tells you just how important this work is.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to you for wanting to continue the work, but also I need you to understand how valuable it is, especially on a show that is seen around the world, So take great pride in that. I know I do for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I really do. I wish
all of us, every single one of us.
Yeah, I know all of us. We do this work together. We do this work together. And when I signed on, I certainly didn't understand what the impact would be. And I feel like I'm blessed by this impact. I'm just blessed by the understanding and the compassion and the knowing of how it does impact people. I mean, to get, you all get these letters, you get the same things on your social media, that people are just grateful that you're out there doing the work.
Amen.
Right? Showing the love.
Sorry.
Look, you can sell detergent on television. You can sell empathy and treating people with compassion and respect.
Yes.
It's a tool, like you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing. The detergent line.
Sorry.
That's wonderful. No. Gosh, unfortunately, we're very, very short on time. I feel like we could probably go on for another couple of hours. I did want to talk really quickly, Amber. I just wanted to throw to you because, of course, I think in many ways, Buffy fans are like, that is almost the template for like this fandom that we see now in pop culture. So I'm positive you're still hearing from many of them day after day. What's been some of the most rewarding feedback you've gotten, at least in terms of like what Tara and her relationship with Willow meant to people?
I think it's just that like I see myself. I see myself out in the world, and I did, like you said, I didn't kill myself because of these characters in this relationship. I wasn't alone. I knew I could get through and get out of my home, wherever I am, where people don't understand me or don't love me or don't treat me properly. And I will find my tribe. I think that, like, the fact that the Buffy fandom is so pervasive, and people actually find each other. They get married because they meet online because of their love of the fandom. And that's in like every aspect of the fandom, and I think the queer fandom that's sort of built around those characters is also built around the show. The show has a ton of queer fans, and I like to say we have like the best fans. They are so kind. They're always out there working to help each other and the people around them. They're always raising money for charitable causes. I mean, the Buffy fans really like embraced the Trevor Project and like raised a ton of money for them. It's just, it's the community and the fact that people are finding each other. Even now, like you said, like streaming, people people that didn't have access to the show and to these shows back in the, like now they do. And like, you have like grandpa who loves the show, and you got the little kids who love it, so like it runs the gamut. And I think it builds connections. And one of the things that was like really powerful was I was talking to this woman, and she's like, I'm queer, and my mom and I watched the show together, and she understands who I am. She's like, she didn't understand what I was or who I was, and now she understands, and we watch this together, and it's this thing that brings us together. And she supports me now. And I was like, like you said, TV can do so much. It can do harm too. And that's what we see with all the crazy social media stuff that we've been dealing with the last, is it like 5-6 years? I mean, like the insanity and the pushback and the draconian, like send us back to the dark ages behavior. So the fact that like this panel exists, Outfest exists, like we have to keep supporting and pushing.
Absolutely.
It's really, really important in the face of all the bullshit, as you said.
Yes, it's not trivial. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Well, again, we are more or less out of time. Of course, like this has been just beyond my imagination. This is so wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. I wish we had another 5 hours, to sit on Zoom and our
I've never cried so much in a panel between the two of you. Oh my gosh.
It has beautiful stories.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's been lovely to share this time with you.
Really. Amber.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
It's such an honor. I do want to become friends with you. So you're in LA, and you're in New York. I'll hunt you down.
Thanks, Cameron.
I am a citizen of the world. I'll be wherever you need me to be.
Okay.
I'm going to wrap this up with a quick intro. Just, of course, a major debt of gratitude to all of you, Wilson, Amber, Jane. It's meant the world to me. And thank you all, everyone who tuned in. Thank you for watching. And of course, I do have to give one last special thank you to IMDb for making this panel in particular possible. We encourage everyone to visit IMDb, the pages of our panelists today, to learn more about their amazing careers. And that's where we'll leave you. So thank you all so much. Thank you again. This has meant the world. Thanks.
Thank you.
Wonderful time.
Thank you.